Welcome to Old Stuff Show. Today we're looking at one particular kind of collectible, stamps. And when I was younger, there was only really two kinds of collectibles that were popular at that time for adults and young people, stamps or coins. And so if you got a stamp book for Christmas, that was kind of a big deal, and you would try and fill up the spots, like this one here. It's a blank one, and pretty well you were looking for all the kinds of stamps that were listed here. In terms of today, those kinds of albums that are full of this kind of thing are mainly common stamps. So if we look at this particular collection, we've got U.S. stamps, and again, they're all common. And so you just leaf through these, and if you're looking for something that's scarce and rare, you always look at the earliest stamps for that particular country and see what you've got. But generally speaking, these albums are quite common in terms of stamps. And also I can remember getting a Scott's guide for stamp values in those days. These were put out yearly, quite detailed, and gives you an idea of the rest of the kinds of collection of particular stamp series that you could get. So even in today's world, Canada Post, for example, puts out stamp guides. And Canada Post today, really, they use stamps as a revenue collecting, and they come out with new stamps all the time just for souvenir collections. For example, this one here, which was the souvenir collection of stamps for 1984, came in a box, had an album, and you could put the stamps in these little pockets that were plasticized, and then the stamps that would be put in there came in a package. So this one, if it was complete, would be worth about $40 in terms of today's market. And then I have one too here for 1983. This one books at $55, same thing. Stamps put in little pockets, and you have a complete set when you finish it off. So and coins are in the same situation. Government uses a variety of souvenir coins, which they sell as a source of revenue on an annual basis. But special collections, like this one, is quite interesting, and this is the special collection for the stamps of 1967, centennial year, and it came in a box of its own. And so complete and in good condition, this would be worth about, not a lot, about $15. So another kind of souvenir collectible. Also the Olympic stamps, Montreal Olympics, and came in its own box, and then nice leather album, again with the loose stamps if they were put in. These would be the stamps of the Olympics, celebrating the Olympics. So the Montreal Olympics, again with the pockets and the loose stamps. I'm not sure the value of this particular one, but wouldn't be high. They were fairly accessible and put out in great numbers at the time. The oldest Canadian stamp, one of the key collectible Canadian stamps, is a penny black. So if you had a penny black stamp from 1840, I see a price on line at $900. So they certainly have a pretty good value. This little collection of stamps here, this is 1981, similar to what I had said earlier, but this one does have the stamps in the pockets. So each of those stamps is in there and complete, and there's a history of the celebration of what's on the stamp. This particular 1981 collection is books at $30 today. And here's a 1982, same thing at $45. There's stamps inside. It's quite interesting. You can learn a lot, and you see a lot of really, really nice stamps. These were all put out for souvenirs at the time. And so I got 1980, 81, and 82 here. $30 for that one. Also special collections like commemorative issues. These are put out. This is a $30 one. And just did little cards with the stamps. Canadian history in postage stamps. Put out in 1959. It's worth $30. Again, mint condition, original in its original folder. And I have two more of those. And this one is around $20. And this is Series 2, Canadian History and Postage Stamps. And then I have two more here as well. Same thing, this one is number 2, $20, number 3, $20. So there's so many variations of collecting stamps. You know, it's not just a matter like in the old days of putting a stamp in an album, a blank album, and then trying to fill up the holes. There's stamps issued as souvenir collections, and the real stamp enthusiasts try to keep up with it, but there's so much out there, it would be hard, I would believe, to keep up with it. Another area of collectability is something called first day covers. So first day covers are special envelopes on the day of a stamp being circulated. And so these are very collectible. And I've got three categories here: people, events, and sports. So in terms of people, for example, in 1971, this stamp came out, and it's Emily Carr, Canada's greatest female artist. We have one in 1965, Winston Churchill. And 1963, celebrating Vincent Massey, Governor General. And then we have here John McCrae, soldier, physician, poet. This was put out in 1969. So they're quite attractive, and I can understand why real stamp collectors would find that quite desirable, because there's so many interesting kinds of covers and history involved. In the sports, I picked out a couple. This one is 1957, the fifth Pan American Games. And then we have the one on 1969. We have one here on curling. And the other category I picked out was events. So this one, Canada's centennial year, first day cover, put out in 1967. This particular stamp, which was a 5-cent stamp put out. And this is also Expo 67. It was also a 5-cent stamp. And we have the Royal Visit of 1967 for centennial year. And then we have women receiving the vote celebrated in a stamp. And airmail rate to the U.S. is 1964 stamp. This one is 8 cents. And the last one that I picked out as a cover, it's not many people know this. I didn't really myself, not being a serious stamp collector, but there's something called tagged stamps. And this started in 1962, and this particular stamp or cover is celebrating that, and it simply says the use tagged or overprinted stamps in a special machine and so it's a form of cancelling. The overprinting inks are visible only to a careful eye examination. So this was the first use of that process in 1962, celebrated. And this would be worth, these are on average worth a couple of dollars each. This one a little more, maybe $5. Now, not too many young people today collect stamps for the sake of collecting stamps, but sometimes there are certain kinds of stamps that attract some collectors, and there's the Third Reich collectors, for example. They really like, and it's often younger people, like the idea of having a stamp that has Hitler's image on it. And so we have, and this is just out of an album, just you know, just stamps that happen to be in there. Also, in my booth at my antique market, I have a number of Chinese customers, and they're always asking me for if I have any Chinese stamps, and that's very hard to get. So sometimes in these albums, they'll have, for example, I found this page. I'm not sure of the value yet, but this summer I'll have this available to my Chinese customers and see what they think about them. But every country, New Zealand and Jamaica and Italy and India and Hungary and Holland and Greece, they're the kind of stamps that you would normally find in this. Again, as I said, most of them are fairly common. So I do remember sending away for stamps to these stamp companies, and it was so exciting to get stamps back and put them in the album. But today, what's in collectability. It's just such a, as you've seen on my videos, such a variety of things that are out there. There's no one focus, and that's what I find at the antique market, that people come by and they're looking for just about everything. So there's anything I have, somebody seems to be a collector of. So it's always fun to talk to these people and find out what kind of things they have in those particular kinds of categories. Anyway, stamps, some people in the 70s, they invested in stamps heavily, thinking it was going to be a big, a profit in terms of investment. Same with coins. As far as stamps, it didn't turn out that way. Generally, stamps have not maintained any kind of collectability unless they're special, very unusual or early stamps. And also, some of the stamps I have in piles here, they're just, this is a whole envelope of stamps. The value is face value. I can still use them on letters today. So any stamp, certainly you can still use for daily postage if you want to do it that way. The trouble is, the 1 cent stamps, 5, 10 cent stamps, you might have to fill up your whole envelope to send it for the 90 cents that it might cost to send a letter today. So metered stamps, another thing. I have a gentleman who's always looking for pre-printed postage on envelopes that often are companies that simply mass print stamps through their meters. That's another kind of collectible in the stamp area. In terms of the coins, I was talking about value and the increase in value and so on. It's a little different from stamps. The difference, though, is that the turnaround year around 1967 or so, the quality of the coin itself, there's more pure silver in coins before then, and so a lot of people that go out and try to find pre-1967 coins do it to take it to a gold buyer and get the silver content value for it, and it's probably melted or whatever. Some people still are looking for, certainly for coins that are rare and in good condition and have some value for that reason. So you can't do a look at collectibles and antiques unless you include stamps. But for me, it's kind of a past tradition, and still people though are very serious about it, and they're looking for the big one, like a penny black, for example. And I did find one time, which was quite unusual. So that's it for stamp collectors, and appreciate you watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I always Appreciate that. And also have a look at my Instagram site. It's under Old Stuff Show. Also eBay. That'll be listed at the end of this program. And all my YouTube videos, we're heading towards 40 now. So there's lots of choices there. And by the end of the year, I expect to have around 50. So you have quite a huge variety of collectible videos available to learn from. So thank you for watching, and hope to see you again. And bye for now.